have. Our first session speaker is Bik Dutta. Bik is the VP Marketing and Product at Carbon60. He leads Carbon60's product strategy, marketing communications, and strategic alliances to expand the Carbon60 ecosystem. Bik has over 15 years of success in the IT services sector with Canadian and global service providers. We also have Andrew Grant. Andrew is a cloud solutions architect at Carbon60 Networks. He leads the technical discussions with clients, delivering ideal solutions to solve complex challenges. Welcome, gentlemen, and Bik, I believe you will start now.
Great, thank you very much for the introduction. Thanks everyone for joining. Happy to be here and along with Andrew to kind of talk about some of the real life battle scars that we've seen being in the public cloud market, and hopefully the audience will take some tidbits of information out that can help you on your journey. So just a little bit about Carbon60 to start off. We are Canada's most trusted and leading managed cloud company. Our general approach in what we do is really centered around providing a white glove service level, and we've been around for about 20 years, and we've evolved along the way based on how technology has changed, and the services that our customers require has also changed. We're a Canadian company, Canadian operations, so we've got Canadian-based offices, 24/7 service desk operations, and hosting and data center platforms as well. So our general approach is that we take care of the build, 24/7 service desk, patching, monitoring, infrastructure optimization, and also security services. And essentially we serve as an extension of our customers' IT teams as they go through their digital journey. We cover a variety of different platforms through our managed services, including public cloud, hosting, and private clouds within our facilities, and a combination thereof with a true hybrid approach. From a partnership perspective, we are a Microsoft Gold partner, an Amazon APN partner, a Google Cloud partner more recently, and a VMware cloud service provider as well. In terms of the portfolio, as I mentioned, all things cloud, public, private, and hybrid. We have advisory and consulting services around infrastructure and also security. We're security by design in terms of all the solutions that we design for clients, various mandatory type services to really protect the customer workloads, and also we're a SOC 2 compliant company. So we're able to serve multiple different verticals based on what they need, and have procedures and policies that enable us to become SOC 2 compliant, helping our customers as well. And then most recently, just last week, a new addition, as you can see on the portfolio slide, we acquired a company called OpsGuru just late last week. And this kind of speaks to our evolution as well as a company. They're a cloud native consultancy based in Vancouver, and they provide multi-cloud services, professional services around assessments, migrations, application modernization, and really is a natural addition to the Carbon60 portfolio to really bolster the capabilities that we have on the front end while customers and clients are determining what and how they should move to cloud and services to help them get there. In addition, OpsGuru just last week was also named AWS Canada's Consulting Partner of the Year for 2021. So it's great timing, and we welcome that team as part of the portfolio. So for today, I'm going to cover off a few things. I'll provide a little bit of context along with Andrew on the public cloud sector and the market, and also some common myths that we hear about during our conversations with clients across small, medium, large, across various different industries that essentially impact cloud adoption. And then we'll use some real life customer examples that we've helped, and that'll be used to illustrate how we're able to help them overcome some of those challenges that are also shown here on the slide. So quick overview here. So the cloud is here. We all know it, and based on the data that we look at, it's just only beginning. Companies of all sizes have their own reasons for moving to the cloud, including modernization, data center consolidation, disaster recovery, new projects and time to market, seasonal or cyclical type of activities with their business. So if you think about retail, security, improving security postures that can exist within public cloud that clients can get access to that they may not have otherwise, or more difficult to accomplish internally. And then obviously resourcing and cost management. What this graph shows here, this is a worldwide slide, worldwide market slide on really the managed cloud services spending. So what you can see here is that the overall trajectory of the market is growing as more and more companies are looking for help. The overall 5-year growth rate is in the 15% range, which is pretty significant. But in particular, that public cloud services market, managed services market, is growing at a torrid pace at 25-26%, and that's really just barely scratching the surface. So what this shows is that there's a lot of companies out there that are trying to get started, but certainly an ecosystem has developed with MSPs and cloud-focused MSPs to help customers on their path to accelerate or get started within their public cloud journey. Now, this next slide is really showing what many of us know. The left-hand slide is a Magic Quadrant from Gartner showing the clear lead that AWS has. This is a worldwide slide, but globally, Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud, they're also kind of nipping at the heels of AWS, who's had a fantastic head start over the last decade or so. So today they're around 50% market share, but as you can see, the others are starting to pull ahead, and not pull ahead, but just come a little closer, and you'll see the market share shift a little bit over the next several years as more and more companies adopt public cloud. And overall, the market for the public cloud hyperscalers, it's growing at 33% year over year. Surely the growth rate has slowed down a little bit, but it's still a significant growth, and it's only going to get better as more and more companies adopt. So I'm going to pass it over to Andrew to talk about some myths.
Thanks, Vic. So yeah, you can see here that we've got a few myths lined up here, and some of these things are talking points that we hear commonly from some of the clients that are looking to work with us. Obviously, cloud is always cheaper. That's one of the common ones that comes in, and it's usually that type of a myth usually is born in the fact that some people don't really fully understand their TCO, their total cost of ownership, the amount of engineers they need to have to run their on-prem physical hardware versus what the cloud can provide. These cost savings can be achieved, but traditionally speaking, that's going to require some sort of a transformation, which is interesting because if we look a little bit further down the slide here, number 5 is transformation is required for cloud benefits. So it's not always as it seems. There are a couple of different components to cost savings and transformation here. But moving on to number 2, your public cloud is less secure than on-premises systems. You could imagine that if you had poorly configured systems on-prem and you just lifted and shifted those to the public cloud, they would also be less secure. So the cloud doesn't necessarily provide you additional risk, but it is something that needs to be reviewed when moving to public cloud. And again, number 3, you can move anything you like to the cloud. So it depends on your workloads. If you've got mainframe type architecture, certain workloads may not be compatible with the cloud provider that you're looking for. And certain things, lifting and shifting those workloads to the cloud for the sake of moving to the cloud is not necessarily a great business case. So maybe those things are things you would like to leave on premises. The cloud will fix bad architecture. So again, similar to number 2, number 4 here is indicating, if you've got a single point of failure in your architecture right now, just moving to the cloud doesn't necessarily solve that. You might need to adopt some of the public cloud services or different architecture patterns to fix those types of kind of components. So it's not necessarily going to fix your bad architecture. So 5 transformations required for cloud benefits. Not necessarily. You can, if your workloads are compatible, you can just pick them up and put them in the cloud, and that will solve things like, running out of floor space in your data center, or the time to acquire and provision new hardware. But if you really want to see benefits, cost, performance, transformation is probably required, but it's not necessarily required to see any of the benefits of going to public cloud. And users lose their control of their cloud data. So number 6 here, using encryption these days, you should have complete control over your data. And there are multiple regions on the Amazon side, at least, and the Azure side, that you can choose from to keep your data within a specific geographic region, if need be. And you should have complete control over the creation and destruction of that data as needed.
Cool, thanks, Andrew. So, the market, as we've talked about earlier, is definitely growing, but there's real business drivers like cost reduction and business efficiency that are starting to drive some of this growth. And we're in an industry. So we as part of the ecosystem, as an integrator, managed service provider, but the public clouds alike, we all kind of make it sound like it's easy, and just get started, fail fast, pay as you go, build the knowledge, and get everything as a service. But those are all, and as Andrew likes to put it, buzzword bingo, as a term that I think that I'll give him credit for coining. But it's a little bit more complicated than that, and a lot of it has to do with people. When you take a look at these 6 items here, there's a people element to every one of these in some regard. So the technology is important for sure, and the architecture behind it, but it's how do you leverage the people to solve some of these challenges around capabilities and skill sets, security and compliance. Those are critical elements that need to be covered for almost every business, or every business. Compliance impacts certain businesses more than others. And then management of multiple clouds, and really getting to time to market with projects. So this is really just part of the process, getting to the public cloud, but there's a whole lot more to it, and it takes experience, failures in some cases, and expertise to kind of get it right. So that kind of brings us to the theme of today's topic, or today's talk, around doing it yourself or partnering with an MSP. But we're going to cover off today, in the next section, using some examples with some clients that we've helped, is addressing skills gap. Just basically getting started, taking over the situation and getting it, solving the problem and getting an application and a business up and running. We'll talk a little bit Andrew's going to talk a little bit about the fail fast approach and innovation. And then security and compliance. And then lastly, we'll round it out with a few summary points on what to look for in MSP, especially related to public cloud. So in terms of skills gap, so we all know that there's a skill shortage. We read about it in all the publications, and I'm sure many of you see it in your day-to-day dealings within your teams. It's well documented, especially with cloud technologies, DevOps, and security. Even before COVID, according to Gartner, boards ranked digital disruption and talent, the talent needed to execute changes, as their top priorities. And the pandemic that we are in just started to accelerate this. And according to a recent survey in 2020, Challenges in Cloud Transformation survey, the IT talent shortage is really a leading corporate concern, and about 86% of respondents in that survey believe that the IT talent shortage will continue to slow down cloud projects, and over 60% of IT leaders think that gap is going to widen and continue over the next few years as well. So I think while while the pandemic has helped move certain areas to the forefront, and adoption of remote work and other discussions and some projects around cloud. It's just getting started. And this is where cloud managed services providers can help shore up these skills, the skills gap and others. And this next example will show how. So this example is a client that we've had for over a year now. It was a early stage startup. They built their platform. The developers built it on AWS. Their CTO at the time had a very small team and was really looking to expand the solution and kind of correct and shore up some of the components within their AWS environment. And again, they needed to really focus on growing their business. They're a fintech. Essentially, they facilitate payments between tenants and property managers. So there's a growing market for that, obviously, in North America, and that's their target market beyond just Canada. So again, the CTO had a small time and really not enough time that they could devote to correcting some of the issues that startups will have when they just try to get their application up and running, because they're more focused on just getting more customers. So essentially what we were able to do with them is really take over their AWS environment for them, really take care of the ongoing routine elements of monitoring, 24/7 support from an operations perspective, patching and so on. And then we also included a DevOps resourcing capability for a number of projects, small and medium type projects that were on the list, kind of a to-do list for the client in order to get that done over a series of a period of several months. And that's an element that we can adjust as different priorities come up, and that really provides this client with added resources, people, plus the care and feeding required to just keep the platform up and running. And there's also a bit of cost optimization that comes part and parcel of us getting to know the environment over time. Next slide, Andrew.
Yeah, so one of the other options here is to just get started. Some of our clients are not as particular about which public cloud provider they choose. They just have an application. Their specific approach is not particular to any one platform architecture. So yeah, so great. So this client of ours, actually, they've been a client of ours for, I think, almost 4 years now. And the pain points that they were looking to address was their previous provider had some availability and some compliance concerns. But the team that we were working with didn't necessarily have any internal IT resources to help migrate the application or to really administer the servers and the actual platform that their application lived on. These were a marketing firm. They actually did a bunch of the lotteries. I'm sure if you're in any of their jurisdictions, you've probably heard their ads on the radio for their cash and cars lotteries and things of that nature. So quite a big application platform. But the agility was needed to be able to develop a new hosting platform for them quickly without making many changes. There wasn't a lot of time to test out new features or new platforms. So there was a very minor replatforming effort just to move some databases around, but essentially the hosting platform was deployed to Amazon mostly as is, with some Carbon 60 monitoring and management, and to bring them that stability and to bring them some additional compliance and management of their changes on their platform. That was one of the other kind of components that was not managed as well as it could have been. So that was a big step forward for them. And eventually, once we passed our initial audits and were successful for the first year or so, we were able to actually revisit this platform and build it out with the architecture that you can see here, which is a container-based application. The clients went through a refactoring of their application to migrate to a WordPress platform, which we're very familiar with. And then we also were able to deploy an ephemeral architecture strategy here for compliance purposes, so that we didn't have any server drift and things of that nature. So yeah, we were able to take a couple of different steps here towards just getting this thing up and running for them, which was to do what they were doing with minimal change so that we could pass audit, and then revisit the platform again at a later time to provide a little more of the benefits of public cloud, and cost management and things of that nature. And failing fast, this is another thing that Vic mentioned earlier. So this is a great approach. I think with public cloud, you've got the ability to fail fast in your design assumptions when you're building your platform out. So things that normally you would have to provision physical hardware for and say, hey, we need 2 servers. Actually, now that we tested it, we might need 4 or 10 or more. The public cloud allows you to test those assumptions. If you're migrating from older hardware to newer public cloud platforms, your vCPU count and your RAM may or may not translate exactly. So the idea here is this was a client of ours that we've had for actually quite a long time in a hybrid capacity, or more of a managed hosting and private cloud capacity. That they came to us looking for. They had just made a new acquisition of a new business unit, and they came to us looking for Amazon. They named the public cloud provider by name, and they said, this is where we want to be in the future. And we said, we're happy to help. So we were able to provide a solution for their existing application with a bit of a hybrid approach. They did have a bunch of storage that's got to be shared across a couple of different applications. So we were able to set that up for them. But the real pain point here with this acquisition was that it had a very short timeline associated with it. So again, we were able to test our assumptions quickly and provide feedback, or the client was able to provide us feedback very quickly once we deployed a proof of concept here. So rather than saying, yes, we can do it, or no, we can't, we really don't know until we test these theories. So the idea was to, deploy their application in the public cloud platform, which is the proof of concept architecture here that you can see. And just give it back to them and say, can you validate this? Does this work as you expect? What is the benchmark of this platform versus your existing provider's platform? So we were able to test any of those assumptions rapidly, and happy to say the proof of concept was received well, and we're actually working with them right now on a full rollout of this production-ready application.
Thanks, Andrew. So the last one we're going to cover in terms of use cases around security compliance. You've heard us mention this a number of times. It's really part of almost every example here that we've talked about today, and most customers that we deal with. So this example is with a financial services company, really a startup digital bank in the US. We were working with a software provider that they had that they've been working with on some particular financial application around risk and regulatory reporting. And it needed to be in the US, and B, they were really looking for a SaaS offering. So we worked pretty closely with the software vendor in this case, who did not and does not have a SaaS offering and won't for the next several years. So we work with them to create some kind of a hybrid type SaaS offering for the client, the end client, and stood it up on Azure. So the architecture of this is relatively straightforward with UAT and production and DR, leveraging as much of the Azure native tools as possible in order to get it up and running. This is again, being a startup, they've got no revenue today. They've got a growth path, growth projection that they're anticipating. So the environment that we have set up for them is scaled, set up to grow in phases based on the adoption, really their success in terms of getting more customers. That's going to lead to more data for this particular software that they're going to have to run, and also the increase in users and so on. So we, again, they're highly being a bank, especially in the States, highly regulated in terms of different gates that they have to pass throughout their initial phase of launch, and then in periodic times beyond that, and then annual audits as well. So that's part of the reason why they work with Carbon60 based on our security posture, the fact that we're SOC 2 compliant. Also have some PCI compliant capabilities as well for a number of customers. We're able to build and architect this in a matter of says months. That's kind of how long it took to get the solution finalized, but the build out of it is fairly quick. As I mentioned earlier, the expense, the cost is somewhat tied to the revenue growth, and we're flexible in that manner as well. So we started off with really this starting point of hosting this new application for the bank, traditional type of an environment where we're taking care of monitoring, patching, capacity management and alerting, 24/7 service desk, plus a whole host of our security, managed security services that aren't necessarily tied directly to Azure, but they're add-on services like managed SIEM, vulnerability scanning, audit assistance to assist them through their audits that they're going to go through over the length of our deal together, and then also SOC 2 compliance. So it's a great example of just getting started. Actually, all of these examples of skills, lack of skills, security and compliance, and just getting it done and getting it started. So that kind of brings us to the back to the cloud MSP market. We've been in this business for 20 years, as I mentioned, as a managed hosting provider. Most of the things that we've done has been within our hosting platform, up until about 4 years ago, when we started adopting Azure and AWS and Google to a certain degree as well. But traditional MSPs, I put ourselves partially in that category, had more of this kind of a focus, as you see on the left-hand side. But as the market evolves and public cloud becomes more of a household name amongst buyers and IT organizations and application folks, this is kind of where the market is headed in terms of this next generation MSP. So building in more automation as opposed to just building it and letting it run, having your alerts on there. So continuously adjusting automation, setting up to begin with to reduce errors, improve efficiency, but also tuning that over time. That's kind of what having more customer intimacy will result in. Distributed operations and resources, solution and application-based SLAs, as the market is starting to move towards that approach. DevOps type capabilities, leveraging CI/CD pipelines, as Andrew mentioned earlier, infrastructure as code, more, I guess, are current now, but more modern cloud native concepts in terms of applications, dynamic monitoring, machine learning. There's still ways to go for that. It's not going to impact every customer, but there are incremental steps that can be taken as well. Security is a key area, as Andrew mentioned. Everyone has a responsibility in the shared responsibility model. With an MSP, we help clients shore up some of the gaps in the responsibility model, together with the hyperscalers that will cover it up to a certain degree, and then it's up to the responsibility of the customer and their partner to take care of the rest. And then continuing to act as more of a trusted advisor and a partner, as opposed to an outsourcing vendor. And I hope we've illustrated today some of the areas how Carbon60 can help through these examples, and we have many more as well. Migration, that's a pretty important step, including the assessment. Ongoing 24/7 management, optimization, and modernization are categories that impact some more than others, depending on where they are in their journey, and then DevOps and security and compliance. So that ends the presentation, or we can open it up to questions.
Thanks, guys. If you have any questions, please type them in the Q&A box. And I see that we do have a question. What criteria should we take into consideration when evaluating an MSP beyond the table stakes?
Sure. Yeah, I'll take that one. There's a number of considerations. Again, depending on what it is you're looking to do, how mature your company is, or if you're a startup, there's a certain level of experience that you need to look for, but the right kind of experience. Just as I talked about on that last slide with the next gen MSP, you want to combine. If you're a larger organization or an organization that has a mixture of different types of workloads, you want to look for a provider, an MSP that can help you with the new and also take care of the current and help you on wherever you happen to be in your life cycle. Check references, that's a given. Vendor alignment with the public cloud companies. How does the MSP interact with the public cloud and vice versa? In some opportunities that we work on, we do work lockstep with the public cloud team as well to find joint success for the customer. So there's full alignment in terms of who is responsible for what, really just to get the customer going and make them successful. And then when you look at contracts, especially with hybrid type environments, flexibility, look for see if the MSP is open to some form of flexibility in contract language and structure, proof of concepts. Yeah, I guess those would be the main ones.
Okay, and I have another one. Do the hyperscalers have infrastructure to support DR in Canada?
Andrew, do you want to take that one?
Certainly, yeah. So it depends on the vendor. Microsoft has their nomenclature, and Amazon has their nomenclature for what defines what constitutes a region versus a zone. So there is, technically speaking, there is a DR capability within the Azure public cloud in Canada. If we're looking at a DR within the country for data sovereignty purposes. Specifically speaking, the Amazon region in Montreal, the CA Central region, technically is comprised of 3 and a hidden 4th zone. And so those are distinct data centers, but they don't typically satisfy the requirement of a certain amount of physical distance between data centers. So they would be not traditionally solving that DR constraint of geographical separation. Depending on your workloads, you can also leverage multiple cloud providers if that's in scope, depending on the platform that you're leveraging and that sort of thing. So it's definitely possible, and it depends on the vendor's specific terminology. But just be careful when you're looking at things like region to one vendor is not a region to another.
Okay, I'm going to try to squeeze one last question in there. Are there ways to do POCs cost effectively on the public cloud to crawl before we run, so to speak?
Sure. Yeah, there's a number of ways. Actually all of the cloud vendors, the hyperscalers, AWS, Google, and Azure, all have some type of funding programs. Again, there's criteria behind it, but they do have funding programs available with for the startup community, for example, but also for non-startup, just general companies that are looking to get started, where they can provide assistance to the partner to help you on your way to once the project is defined, really help offset some of the costs related to onboarding and assessments or designs and so on, or reviews essentially, to really get you started. And then even with for example with Carbon60, there's as Andrew mentioned earlier today on the call with one of the examples that we can certainly work on POCs that are more limited in scope. Again, we collaborate with clients to figure out what that scope is in an effort to minimize the overall cost when funding isn't available to take advantage of. But our folks, our account teams and our cloud architects, together with our partners, can sort out what programs are available at a given time and take advantage of those to help you out.